Once, a long, long time ago, in a faraway land called Persia, there lived a young Jewish girl. Her name was Hadassah, but everyone called her Esther. Esther was an orphan. Her mommy and daddy had died, which was a very sad thing. But she was not all alone in the big, wide world. She had her cousin Mordecai, who loved her very much. He took her into his home and cared for her as if she were his very own daughter. He was kind and wise, and Esther listened to everything he said. They lived together in a city called Susa, which was the capital city of the whole giant kingdom. Esther was not just kind and good, she was also very beautiful. Her eyes shone like bright stars, and her smile could warm anyone's heart. But her real beauty wasn't just on the outside. It was a special kind of beauty that came from deep inside her heart, a quiet and gentle spirit. She was obedient and respectful to Mordecai, always showing him love. They lived a simple life among their people, the Jews, who were living far from their own homeland. They remembered God's promises and prayed that he would always watch over them in this foreign place. Life in Susa was very different from the land their ancestors came from. The king of Persia, whose name was Xerxes, was the most powerful man in the world. His palace was grand and filled with amazing treasures. He ruled over many, many people from all different places. Esther and Mordecai were just two small people in this vast kingdom. They didn't have a lot of money or power, they just had each other, and they had their faith in God. They believed that even in this big, scary world, God had a plan for them and would never leave them. Mordecai taught Esther all about their people and their history. He told her the stories of Abraham, Moses, and David. He explained that God had made a promise to protect them no matter where they were. So Esther grew up knowing she was part of a special family, God's family. This knowledge gave her a quiet strength. She didn't know it yet, but God was getting her ready for something very important. A very big adventure was just around the corner, one that would need all the courage and faith she had in her heart. One day, King Xerxes decided he needed a new queen. He sent his servants all throughout the kingdom to find the most beautiful young women. They were to be brought to the palace so the king could choose his favorite. And so, the king's men came to Susa. When they saw Esther, they knew she was special. They took her to the grand palace, along with many other young women. Mordecai was worried, but he told her a secret. "Don't tell anyone you are a Jew," he whispered. He knew that some people in the kingdom did not like his people, and he wanted to keep Esther safe. Esther lived in the palace for many months, getting ready to meet the king. She was given beautiful clothes to wear, and delicious food to eat. A kind man named Haggai was in charge of all the young women, and he liked Esther very much. She was always gentle and kind to everyone, and she never demanded anything special. When it was finally her turn to go before King Xerxes, he was amazed by her beauty and her sweet spirit. He loved her more than all the other women. So he placed the royal crown on her head, and made her the new queen of Persia. Now Esther was the queen. She lived in the beautiful palace, but she never forgot who she was or where she came from. Every day Mordecai would come and wait by the palace gate just to see if she was all right. He would send messages to her and she would send them back. Even though she was a queen, she still listened to her cousin Mordecai, just as she had when she was a little girl. She kept her secret, just as he had told her to. No one in the palace, not even the king, knew that the lovely Queen Esther was a Jew. Life seemed good for a while. The king loved his new queen, and Esther was safe in the palace. But a dark shadow was beginning to fall over the kingdom. There was a wicked man in the king's court, a very proud and evil man named Haman. The king had made Haman very powerful, his most important official. Everyone was supposed to bow down to Haman whenever he passed by, but Mordecai would not bow. He would only bow to God. This made Haman furiously angry, and a terrible, hateful idea began to grow in his heart. Haman's heart was filled with so much hate for Mordecai that he wanted to hurt not just him, but all of his people. He went to King Xerxes and told terrible lies. "There is a certain group of people in your kingdom," Haman said, "who do not obey your laws. It is not good to let them live." He tricked the king into signing a new law. The law said that on a specific day, all the Jewish people in the entire kingdom, men, women, and children, were to be destroyed. The king, not knowing Haman's evil plan or that his own queen was a Jew, sealed the law with his ring. When Mordecai heard about this horrible law, his heart broke into a million pieces. He tore his clothes and put on sackcloth and ashes, which was how people showed they were very, very sad. He went to the palace gate and cried out with a loud and bitter cry. All the Jews throughout the kingdom were crying and praying, When Esther's servants told her what was wrong with Mordecai, she was very worried. She sent him new clothes, but he wouldn't wear them. He was in deep mourning for his people, who were now in terrible danger. Mordecai sent a message back to Esther. He told her all about Haman's wicked plan and the terrible law. Then he asked her to do something very, very scary. He wanted her to go to the king and beg him to save her people. But this was a dangerous thing to do. There was another law in Persia. No one could go to the king without being called. Anyone who did could be put to death unless the king held out his golden scepter. Esther was afraid. She sent a message back saying, "I could be killed if I go to the king without him calling for me." Mordecai sent one last powerful message. He said, "Don't think that just because you are in the palace you will be safe. If you keep quiet now, help will come from somewhere else, but you and your family will perish. And who knows, perhaps you were made queen for such a time as this." His words filled Esther with a new kind of courage. She knew he was right. God had put her in the palace for a reason. This was her moment. She had to be brave, not just for herself but for everyone she loved. Esther made her decision. She sent a message back to Mordecai. "Go, gather all the Jews in Susa," she said, "and pray for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days and 3 nights. My maids and I will do the same, and after that, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish." For 3 days Esther and her people prayed to God for strength and for favor. She put all her trust in him. She knew that she could not do this alone. She needed God's help to face the most powerful man in the world. After 3 long days, Esther put on her most beautiful royal robes. Her heart was probably beating like a drum, thump, thump, thump. She walked slowly and stood in the inner court of the palace, right where the king could see her from his throne. When King Xerxes looked up and saw his beautiful queen standing there, his heart was filled with love for her. He was not angry at all. Instead, he smiled and held out his golden scepter toward her. It was a sign that she was safe. He had welcomed her. "What is it, Queen Esther?" the king asked. "What is your request? I will give you anything you ask, even up to half of my kingdom." But Esther was wise. Instead of telling him everything right away, she invited him and Haman to a special banquet she had prepared. At the banquet, the king asked again, but she invited them to a second banquet the next day. It was at this second feast that she finally revealed her secret. With tears in her eyes, she said, "My people and I have been sold to be destroyed." The king was shocked. "Who would dare do such a thing?" he demanded, and Esther, pointing her finger, said, "The enemy is this wicked Haman." The king was filled with rage when he understood Haman's evil trick. The wicked man was punished, and the king gave Esther the power to write a new law. This new law allowed the Jews to defend themselves against their enemies. When the day came, Esther's people were saved from danger, and all because one young woman was brave enough to trust God and speak up, even when she was afraid.